Hello everyone, welcome to CRSR Tech Academy. Now we are going to look into Managed Identity for Azure Data Factory. Managed Identity is going to eliminate the need to manage and provide credentials in Azure Data Factory directly. Managed Identity provides an identity for the service instance when connecting to resources that support Azure Active Directory authentication. I will provide detailed Microsoft documentation to check supported Azure Active Directory authentication in the description of the video. Please go through that. Now we'll look into the types of managed identities in Azure Data Factory. First one is system assigned managed identity. There we have to enable a managed identity directly on the service instance. Now we'll look into user assigned managed identity. Here we have to create a managed identity as a standalone Azure resource. Here, after creating a user assigned managed identity, we can assign it to one or more instance of Azure Data Factory directly using the single user assigned managed identity. Now we'll see practical lab on system assigned and user assigned managed identities in Azure Data Factory while creating linked service of Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Here we are going to create linked service for Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Click on New, then after search for Data Lake Gen 2. Here it is. Click on Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 and then continue. Firstly, we have to provide the name of the Azure Data Lake Gen 2 and then after description. It is an optional one. If you want, we can give, otherwise, we can leave that one as an empty. Then after we have to connect the integration runtime. As of now, I am providing auto resolve integration runtime by default. And authentication type. Here we have so many authentication types. As of now, we are doing lab for system assigned and user assigned managed identities, right? So first I am going with system assigned managed identity. After providing that one, if you observe, this account selection method is going to change. I am going with the from Azure subscription itself. Here, Azure subscription is going to come automatically. Okay, free trial. Mine is a free trial. That's why I'm providing the free trial subscription. Here we have to provide the storage account name. Already I have the storage account, Data Lake CRSR training. I'm selecting the same, and then after we have to test our connection. If we test our connection, it is going to fail because we didn't set up as a system assigned managed entity as of now. So it is providing the same error. So to activate this one, we have to go with Azure Data Lake, and also we need to go with Azure Data Factory as well. Once open the Azure Data Factory, here if you observe, we'll find a managed entities. If not, you can search here as well. Go with managed entities. Under this one, under system assigned managed entity, the status should be on. If the status is off, we have to enable this one to on and then save the changes. As of now, it is in on condition only. I'm not going to change anything. And here we have to add the role assessment, role assignment, because if we observe here, we are creating the linked service for data lake Gen 2, right? It's the combination of blob storage and data lake Gen 1. So I am opening my Azure Data Lake Gen 2. This is my storage account, and this is my storage account, and I'm opening the same. And once you navigated to storage account, you have to click access controls here. Once you click access control, you'll get this tab. Check access, role assessments, roles, deny assessment, and classic administrator. So for here we have to assign the role. I'm creating the new add role assignment. To do our job, storage blob data container role is enough. So that's why I'm providing the same. Storage blob data container role is enough. After clicking the same, provide next. Then after you'll navigate this to this page. Add role assignment. Okay, once you have navigated to this one, you have to add the member here. Okay, and before that one we have to go with manage identity. Okay, first coming to this window, we have to select the manage identity, then after select the member, and the subscription is same. Coming to the manage identity, our is the system assigned manage identity, right? And there, if you observed earlier, we have enabled the system assigned manage identity. That's why here our data factory version 2 is coming, and this is my data factory name, so I'm selecting the same. Okay, selected member. If you wanted to remove, you can remove. And then because we wanted the same rate, that's why I have kept the same. And select. If you select, you'll get the member here. Then after next, no need to give these kind of things, and review and assign the role storage contributor access to the ADF. Okay. Once we are able to see the Azure Data Factory access to Azure Blob Data Container, we have to go to Azure Azure Data Factory and check the Azure role assessments under the system assigned managed entity. Click on this and we can see the role as storage blob data container and the resource name as our data lake gen 2. Okay, and it is located in the ADF console. And once we'll go with data factory linked service, and again we'll do the test connection. See, now the connection established successfully. Watching manage entity, create the linked service. Okay, this is the one. As of now we don't have any related connections here, that's why it is showing 0. This is the process how we are going to give the authentication type of system assigned managed entity for Azure Data Lake Gen 2 linked service in Azure Data Factory. Now we'll look into user assigned managed entity. To use user assigned managed entity, first we had to create managed entity resource in using the Azure portal. Here we had to search managed identity. Here we'll get. Okay. First we have to create a new managed entity. Once you navigated to the create page of user assigned managed entity, first we have to provide subscription details and then resource group. If if you don't have resource group, you can create a new one. If you have, you can use the same. I'm using I'm using the same resource group which I have earlier, and we have to provide the reason. As of now, I'm going with the Central India only. Name of the managed entity. User. I'm providing my name of the user assigned managed entity and then review and create this one. It will take only few seconds to complete the process. It got deployed completely. And go to the resource. Once you created user assigned managed entity, you have to go with Azure Data Factory. Open your Azure Data Factory which you wanted to connect user assigned managed entity. Then after go with managed entities. Earlier we saw system assigned managed entity, right? Then we have to go with user assigned managed entity and add the managed entity which we have created just now, and give this one, enable the box and add. Here we are adding the managed entity which we have created now, and we have assigned that user managed entity to this user assigned managed entity in ADF, Azure Data Factory. If you see here, right? And now we have to provide the access to this managed entity. Earlier we did the same, right? Now we have to go with Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storage account. Then after same access control, and after going with the access control, click on add and add role assignment. Then after here now we have to give the same storage. Now also we have to provide the same storage blob data contributor access. Then after next, and assign access to managed identity. Then after select members. Now here we have to select the user assign managed identity instead of system assign managed identity. Click this one. Now we have the user assign managed identity, right? Select that one and click on select. Now you are able to see the user assign managed entity under the members. Now review and assign. Okay, here it is adding the role assignment. Under the role assignments, now we'll have the two. One is the ADF, this is the system assign managed entity, and one more is the user assign managed entity. Okay. Now navigate to user assign managed entity resource. There we can observe that under the Azure role assignments, we'll see the role as Azure Blob Storage, Blob Data Contributor access for the resource name as Data Lake Gen 2 for this user assign managed entity. This user assign managed entity we have given access to Azure Data Factory. Like now we'll go with Data Factory and create the new linked service for the Data Lake Gen 2 by using authentication type as user assigned managed identity. User managed identity. And here we have to provide the subscription details and the storage account name. And one thing we have to do extra here is we have to create the credential here for the user assigned managed identity, and click the credential and create the new. Now we have to provide the credential name, user assigned managed identity, and then Azure subscription is same free trial, whatever the subscription we have. And already we have created the user assigned managed identity, right? Assigned to the data factory. User assigned mi adf crs, that is our name of the user assigned managed identity. Then after, click on apply. Once you click on apply, here we can see the created credential. And then after, give the test connection. Yeah, a test connection is success. Whatever the things we have to given here, first the name of the linked service and then integration runtime, and select the authentication type of user assigned managed entity. And I'm going with the Azure subscription itself, so we are providing the subscription details and the storage account name. Then at one step we have to do extra is here we have to create the credential for user assigned managed entity. While providing the credential, we have to give our user assigned managed entity name. This is our name and this is our object name. Then after, once you have to give these things, then after we have to do the test connection. It is going to be successful. Then after, create the link service. Now we'll see that we have one more thing, user assigned managed entity is created. Okay, if you wanted to save the linked service, you have to publish, otherwise it won't be saved. Now we'll see how to add one more Azure Data Factory for the same user assigned managed identity. For that, you have to go to the ADF, the ADF, which the different ADF which you wanted to connect with the same managed entity. As of now, I have only one ADF, that's why I'm showing the same. Okay, under the managed entity, just you have to go with user assigned managed entity. Only one step we have to do is just add the user assigned managed entity to that respective Azure Data Factory. Likewise, we can use the single user managed entity for multiple Azure Data Factories. This is all about user managed identity in Azure Data Factory and system managed identity in Azure Data Factory. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.